Got a lot of NFL news items to get to here on today's Verts episode. My name is Harrison Graham. An update in the Colts QB competition. Plus, Brandon Aiyuk seems to be upset with the 49ers once again. We'll get to both of those stories. But first, do want to get to the news item of the day. Aaron Rodgers made his return to the Pat McAfee Show and basically said that this is going to be his final season. He said, I'm pretty sure that this is it. That he will wrap up his career with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Here was the full quote on McAfee today. Quote, I'm pretty sure this is my last season, and that's why we did the one-year deal. I've played for 20 years, and I've enjoyed it. There's no better way to finish it than with Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, we've talked a lot of Rodgers this offseason as we waited and see where he was going to sign, if Pittsburgh was going to end up getting him, so on and so forth. And look, I'm fascinated to see if it works out. I would probably bet against it. Could it be similar to what the Steelers have been, 9-10 wins, losing the first round? Yeah, I think that's on the table. But can he exceed that? Does he have one final push in him with Mike Tomlin to a divisional round or an AFC championship game? I don't think anyone, including Aaron, truly believes that a Super Bowl could be on the table. But, could they get the right draw and win a playoff game or two? You never know. Once you get into the tournament, these are one-off games. This isn't the NBA where it's a best of 7. So, sometimes weird things happen. So, fascinated to see if it works or not. I could see this going a million ways. I could see it being the first Mike Tomlin below 500 year of his career, but maybe it's, awesome and it works out. But certainly kind of feels like we're getting that retirement tour when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. And if it is his last season, it is also pretty fitting because the Pittsburgh Steelers NFC crossover division is against the NFC North. So he'll play the Packers, Bears, Vikings, and Lions. Obviously played for the Packers for a long time, but then those other 3 teams played up against for many, many years as well. All right, we'll get to those other 2 stories coming up in just a second, but we react to the biggest storylines in the NFL. That's what we do here on Verts. If you want to stay on top of the NFL news cycle and absorb other NFL content and some college football as well once the college football season returns, this is the channel for you. It's 100% free. I would appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. Okay, Daniel Jones, is he QB1 in Indianapolis? Another report has come in. Remember, Jeremy Fowler had something a couple weeks ago on this. Now, out of The Athletic, James Boyd says that Jones is, quote, significantly ahead of Anthony Richardson. Here was the direct quote from Boyd saying, Daniel Jones is QB1 for now. The Colts signed the ex-Giants Vikings quarterback in free agency to challenge Anthony Richardson in Indy, and Jones is already taking a significant lead in what was supposed to be a wide-open quarterback competition. Now, you could read that a couple ways. Is he super far out in front because Richardson missed most of OTAs with the shoulder injury, or is it because even when Richardson was out there, Daniel Jones was far outperforming him? Maybe it's a little bit of both. I do think this, in a pivotal year for Shane Steichen, I think Anthony Richardson is going to have to take this job back. For months I kind of thought, well, they picked him in the top 5. He'll start week 1 no matter what, even if really Jones has the better spring period and summer and fall camp and all that, just because it's easier to give your top 5 pick the starting job, then if he doesn't perform, go to the veteran, then vice versa. Like if you start Daniel Jones, that's kind of a signal of the end of the Anthony Richardson experiment in Indianapolis. But I no longer think that. I now think that they're just going to play who they think the better guy is. And right now, I think they view that as Daniel Jones. So if you're Anthony Richardson, you're going to have a really good training camp and preseason. And look, I'm not a big Daniel Jones guy. I think he's limited. I don't think he stretches defenses vertically. That's one area that Anthony Richardson can do with his downfield passing. But I think Shane Steichen is going to look at this and say, unless Richardson takes a huge jump in fall camp, Daniel Jones can operate quick game. He can make better decisions than Anthony Richardson. He's more accurate than Anthony Richardson. This is a guy in Shane Steichen that almost got to the playoffs with Gardner Minshew 2 years ago. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is way better or worse or whatever than Minshew, but I'd say they're similar tier. Maybe Jones is a little better. he is going to look at this and say, if he can just be functional, just, hey, hit the easy throws, the underneath stuff, yeah, we'll sacrifice some big plays without Anthony Richardson, but Anthony Richardson misses way too many layups, makes way too many poor decisions, and he's got an injury history now. So my gut tells me that Daniel Jones is going to be this team's starting quarterback. And if anything, I kind of wonder if Richardson ends up getting traded at some point. Speaking of Anthony, though, he does say that he's going to be ready for training camp. He says his shoulder is, quote, all good. He missed the last couple of OTA periods this spring with Indianapolis. And remember, he's hurt that shoulder a couple of times now in a short NFL career. But shoulder injury or not, another reason they're just going to go with Jones is, let's just face it, Anthony Richardson has been terrible. I mean, the numbers don't lie. Sometimes they do. In this case, they don't. I get he takes a lot of big chances when he throws the football. 50.6%. I mean, you're not even close to being below average. Like 60% is below average. That's 10 percentage points away. Too many turnovers, not enough touchdowns. He can run, but the shoulder's a problem, so you're worried that he's going to get hurt. It's just been as close to a full-on disaster as possible. I think they like the guy in the building for the most part, but I think he even lost some of that goodwill last year when he checked himself out of the game because he was too exhausted. So, again, I think Daniel Jones is in pole position. I think we all assumed the opposite would be true and that Jones would have to take the job or Richardson would have to lose it. I think Richardson's already lost it in terms of being in the lead. Now, could he get it back? Sure. You got a full training camp, 3 preseason games. Things could change, but I think he would have to be really, really good during Colts training camp and in some preseason games for them to roll him out there in week 1. Who do you guys think is going to start week 1 for the Colts? Type DJ for Daniel Jones, AR for Anthony Richardson. I think it's going to be Jones. I think Steichen trusts himself to get the most out of Daniel Jones and at least get some more consistency, if nothing else, because Richardson is the opposite of consistent. Okay, Brandon Aiyuk, then we'll get out of here. I got to tell you, this has been a bizarre 12 months, really like 15 months now, dating back to before the draft last year. He now is like posting things on his YouTube channel, like the community tab. You guys see our posts on our community tab here on this channel. And it just seems like he's like being cryptic all the time now. Here's what he had to say yesterday. He said they was talking about trading me while I was off Percocets, muscle relaxers, and peeing in a cup by my bed. Couldn't walk for 10 weeks. Ain't nobody trading for me. So he's basically saying, yeah, this franchise was talking about trading me while I was recovering from my knee surgery, yada, yada, yada. And this has just become one of those situations where I think if the 49ers had a do-over, they would absolutely have traded him before the draft last year. And Deebo Samuel would still be on the team. Not because Deebo's better, but Deebo is a guy that they trust more, that he's reliable. And even if he's somewhat of a cooked product, they know what he brings to the table. Brandon Aiyuk has this awesome year in 2023 and has just been kind of a head case since then, for a lack of a better term. This has all happened in the last 12 months. Last offseason, months of drama. He's holding out. He wants a new contract. He's leaking through the media. I want to get traded. And then the 49ers are like, okay, we'll trade you. But then he's like, no, I don't want to get to the 5 teams that are willing to trade for me. And they're like, well, what do you want? Okay, we'll give you $76 million guaranteed on a 4-year, $120 million contract. He starts slow last year after missing most of training camp. Then he rips up his knee, and now, despite having all this guaranteed money, he's back at it with the drama. Again, I think the Niners deep down are like, we made a mistake there. Not because he's not a good player, not because he doesn't have a good rapport with Brock Purdy, but because at some point you just get to a point where it just isn't worth all the noise. And especially now that he's got this injury and who knows how he'll play coming off of it, I just think they're kind of over it. The problem now, though, is they kind of need him. They've kind of backed themselves into a corner here. So Aiyuk can just kind of yap and run his mouth and bitch and complain and this and that despite already getting his guaranteed money. And the Niners are kind of stuck because they got to roll out Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall as their only 2 notable receivers. I don't think they could afford to do that. So I think this is a year-to-year case at this point. It wouldn't shock me at all if next offseason they pivoted off of him. It'll be a little easier to do that as well from a contract standpoint. But I will throw this out there. Is there a world where the Commanders and the Niners would do a trade swap. Now, we revisited this, I don't know, a month ago, and when the McLaurin stuff first came out, because he's unhappy, he wants that new contract extension, and rightfully so. I mean, he's put his head down, gone to work, and they're finally good now, and he's like, hey, it's time to pay up. And, I shot it down pretty heavily, because if you're Washington, why would you do that? Terry McLaurin has been just, I don't know what the phrase is, like just the utmost professional since he's been there. He went through garbage coaches, garbage quarterbacks, has just produced, and now he's got this good rapport with Jaden Daniels, and they're on the cusp of being, a consistent contender. Why would they trade that for Brandon Aiyuk? Well, if Terry McLaurin wanted like $35 million, and he's clearly upset and frustrated with these lack of extension talks, is there a scenario where the Commanders would agree to some sort of swap? Brandon Aiyuk and Jaden Daniels have a relationship going back to Arizona State. When Aiyuk is healthy, he is a very good player. He's a couple years younger than Terry. Obviously, the injury is something you'd have to consider. I think if you did do this, A, it would be borderline insane given Aiyuk's behavior the last 12 months. But B, you'd have to get something back more than just Aiyuk if you're Washington, because you'd be taking away your number one receiver from your young star quarterback that just had a historic rookie season. I don't care that he has a relationship with Aiyuk. I'd have to get at least a day 2 pick back as well, and that doesn't even factor in that he's coming off a major injury. So, look, I've seen this idea floated out there. I understand the principle of it, but what is Brandon Aiyuk worth? I don't care that he's a couple years younger. Terry McLaurin, I think, is worth significantly more, and I don't think this ends up happening. I think in the end, Washington will pay up. But this Aiyuk thing in San Francisco kind of feels like it's a ticking time bomb. Who do you guys think is the better receiver, TM for Terry McLaurin or BA for Brandon Aiyuk? I know who I would trust more. I know who's more reliable, and that's Terry McLaurin. Now, Aiyuk's year a couple of years ago, probably the best individual season either of these two players have had, but in the end, give me Terry McLaurin when it comes to that debate. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of 4 Verts. Appreciate you if you made it to the end of the video. That makes you a real one. If you want to subscribe to the channel and support the movement, hit that sub button, share the link with a friend, and we'll see you guys soon.